Hi everybody, it's us. Yay! It's the CC and JT Amateur Hour where production values go to die. That one over there, the cutie, is CC.
And that's JT, who is the actual cutie.
The real cutie. Anyway,
Actually,
ding ding ding, you've won today. We're here for you. If you are new to our experience, we are two writers who try to write, who try to sell. We've published a few books along the way. We're not as successful as we want to be. But we've learned things about the craft of writing. We've learned things about the publication of books, the self-publication of books. And what we try to do with these several hundred episodes that we've done, for over many years, is try to share that knowledge and try to bring you into the fold of writing. We feel that everybody should write, but with caution, because once you get into the business of writing and self-publishing, this is my favorite metaphor when it comes to writing. It's like putting a cat in a cardboard box that's always scratching to get out. Even when you want to quit writing, it doesn't quit you.
I wish I could quit you.
Yeah, I wish I could quit you. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, yeah. So
in
we're
case
kind of,
anybody's curious, that's a reference back to Brokeback Mountain.
yeah, we're actually overly pleased with ourselves. We're full of coffee. This episode and every episode is probably brought to you by Jack.
Even though we are not sponsored, we just really like to have our Jack coffee on Sunday mornings.
But Uncle Jack, if you ever want to sponsor, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about today. Excuse my eyes. But we've got some announcements to make, and we've got some things to chat about. And at the top of the list is the upcoming release of my next book, Finding Salvation, which really turned out a lot better than I thought. Really turned out well, didn't it? And so that's available for pre-order on the platforms, and I'll get it up on our own website here pretty soon. But Finding Salvation is the prequel to the Serving Salvation 3-book series. This is a 3-novella series that happened one day when CC said, look at this sex bot thing. And it's like, oh, I could write a prequel. And boom, 120, 130, gosh, I don't even know, that's not right. No, that's not right. 130, 140,000 something words later, we had 3 novellas bound in one book. So thanks a lot, you.
Just for reference, if you haven't seen previous episodes where we talked about this, what he's referring to is that we were looking at pre-made book covers, and one of them, they throw random titles on them, and the title on one of these pre-made book covers was the Sex Bot Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he got the kernel of what became Finding Salvation.
Yeah, it was actually, and it's just funny how it all came together. So I was able to just sort of puke on the keyboard like I do because I'm a pantser. And a pantser, for those that are not in the business, is someone who just writes and lets the story take them where they're going to go. Whereas CC is a plotter, where she tries to plot things out. Though I suspect sometimes she does what I do, but that's goes where the story takes her. Okay, so Finding Salvation will be released on the platforms St. Patrick's Day. Please pre-order. Please pre-order. You can get the links from our website, carsonhume.com. Your turn. What's your turn? Do you have announcements?
I do have announcements. So my beta read of Restless Spirits Book 2 has come back. I got notes from JT and Jackie Turner. Thank you. And I am in the beta revision process. I'm hoping to get that done in the next few days to get it off to the editors. So we are looking at a mid to late April release for Restless Spirits Book 2. Once I do the cover design contest, I will do a cover and title reveal at that point. Until then, it's just going to be Restless Spirits Book 2, but I have titles for all 6 of the books in my series already. So I'm going to release the titles as I go along. Restless Spirits Book 3, the first draft is, actually, I'm on the second draft because JT has already read that. I need to make revisions based on JT's suggestions. I will be revising based on books 1 and 2 so that everything fits together well. And then hopefully that will go to the editors right after Restless Spirits Book 2 and will be released fingers crossed, on my birthday this year, June 26th.
Yep, and then my turn. Excellent, by the way. Excellent, congratulations.
Thank you.
Then excellent. After this book, I've got another book in the same universe as Finding Salvation. It's this book deals with what happens when the salvation leaves Earth. This book around those key events. The next book after that, which is currently with TerryCase.com, is at the beta read stage. Well, super beta read. I don't know. She's not really.
It's kind of a creative edit, I think.
Creative
it's
edit.
Like
So that particular book, which is what happens to the people who were left behind on Earth, and it's a fascinating little study, and I'm curious to see what not only Terry thinks of it, but the world thinks of it. It's again in the same universe as this guy here. And then after that, since CC jumped ahead to her future books, after that, right now I'm about 16,000 words into the next Findings Sheriff in Nevada series. Book 4. So I'm into book 4 of that, and my hope is to get that also out on Nevada Day.
And then going back to my upcoming releases, I'm also hoping to release a book on Nevada Day called Battleborn Bride. It is something I've been working on for several years. I got the idea before I retired from the state archives. It revolves heavily around Nevada statehood. It takes place in 1863, 1864, here in Carson City. I'm really excited about it because it's going to lean very heavily on actual historic events at the time period. I'm drawing from Chronicling America, all the historic newspapers on the website, and I am probably with my daily YouTubes at some point when I get to the Battleborn Bride process, I'm going to be going around town maybe and doing some videos on some of the locations, like the pronunciation drives me crazy. Orion Clemens, who was Sam Clemens' brother, was the Territorial Secretary of Nevada. His house still stands on the west side of Carson City. I'll probably go do a video over there. And for those who aren't familiar, Sam Clemens, Orion's brother, eventually became Mark Twain in this area. So Mark Twain will feature in this book, even though at the time he hadn't quite become Mark Twain yet, or he had just become Mark Twain. So it's going to be a very interesting book, I think.
And I think that it bears saying out loud that CC will bring a very serious layer of authenticity to this from her former day job as the senior archivist at the Nevada State Archives. So she spent several years in the state archives protecting and promoting key documents, which includes the state constitution. So it's not like this is something that is like just a hobbyist. This used to be her profession, and she still is a professional archivist. And I say that because she's a member of professional organizations. So she brings authenticity to it. So if you are into Nevada, if you're into Nevada history, and if you're into historical fiction, hey, this is the zeitgeist of all that. Ooh, look at that word. Look at that word.
And it will be especially interesting because I don't think a lot of people are familiar with any state, really, the creation of that state, how the state came about. Nevada is particularly interesting because we were too small on the population front to be considered a state, but it was during the Civil War. Lincoln, some people will say he needed the silver, but it was really he needed the votes, and he needed votes from particular people with particular leanings, let's say. We did have both sympathizers and you might say rebels in the area, but it was a very challenging time here in Nevada and in the country. So this book could be of interest to not only Nevada historians, but people who are interested in that particular part of the Civil War, maybe something that they hadn't heard about. And there are all kinds of interesting backstories that I'll probably talk about more on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and just to mention though that Lincoln really did need the silver because the war was expensive.
Yes, but that wasn't the only reason.
Right.
It's not like everything was black and white. There was a lot going on. So yes, the Comstock silver was important, but also the votes were important.
Yeah, it's a very complex part of American history that you won't probably read on the East Coast because we are such a tiny place, and so tiny, in fact, there was a time of reverting the state of Nevada back to the territory. So it's
because we lost population when the Comstock boom ended. People moved away because they didn't have work. So we did lose population after that point. Obviously, we've rebounded, but most of our population now is located in either Reno or Washoe County, Carson City area, and Las Vegas. So Nevada has a very interesting and textured history that people don't realize. So I'm hoping to get more of that out there.
Yep. Okay. I think do we have any other announcements other than the one that we're going to be talking about today?
I don't think so. We briefly mentioned that we do have a couple of events that are not completely finalized yet, but we're looking at doing our first signing this year in April at the Nevada State Museum, but again, not finalized yet. And also with our Sierra Arts Foundation, they're doing another book fest in June of this year that we will probably be participating in. So those still aren't finalized, but if you follow along, we'll keep you updated with all the details.
Yeah, we need to do a few more book signings too, because we like meeting with people. I do want to say hello to Chaz and Jennifer and Bryce and Jessica, all of whom I've spoken to this week about writing. So it's always fun to talk about writing. So I just want to say hi, y'all doing great. But let's go ahead and get into the big announcement. So big announcement. And if you checked out, if you were linked to this from our media presence, you'll notice that we relied heavily on the word KISS, which is keep it simple, silly. Yeah, we call it that because,
language can be challenging.
So keep it silly, keep it simple, silly. And we're doing that in conjunction to, we have this pie in the sky vision of this great road trip that we're going to take through the southern U.S., head up to the East Coast, stop by Washington, D.C., because somebody...
National Archives.
Yeah, National Archives.
And the Library of Congress.
National Archives. And then, dip a foot into the beautiful state of Rhode Island. I'll talk about that in a second. And then, work our way back through and hopefully stop in Chicago and see one or both of our favorite Chicago things. Of course, Wrigley Field and the Institute of Art.
The Chicago Art Institute.
Chicago Art Institute. Because when we were there last time, we went to Wrigley twice and we spent the entire freaking day at the Art Institute because,
And we didn't see everything.
So, somebody I saw online, not me, said that, best art museum in the world. And I'm going, yeah, okay.
And we've been to Paris. We saw some museums in Paris. We did not go to the Louvre, but
we should have, but anyway.
We should have. We were in Paris for like a week or so.
It was complex.
You need a week for the Louvre.
But anyway, so the greatest museum that we've been to. And then, from Chicago, then we're going to aim our way northwest and pick up North Dakota and Montana. Because the reason for that is between the two of us, we've been to over 40 states in the Union, including Alaska. But we haven't hit Rhode Island. We haven't hit, I've hit South Carolina. You haven't hit South Carolina. But there's the states that are down there, Arkansas, that we haven't hit.
Louisiana.
Well, I've been to Louisiana. Yeah. But you see, between us...
I have not.
Between us, we've hit almost all 50 states. And if we live up to our vision, we'll hit between us 49 states. That's the plan. Now, that depends a lot on our stamina and money, but that's the big thing. So why are we talking about this? Because we really seriously started to go down the road yesterday. We have a weekly meeting every Saturday to talk about our business. Two More Books LLC at twomoorebooks.com. And we started spouting out all these ideas. It was an idea factory. We were just going,
yep.
And after a while, it just got to be, I started getting triggered. I started getting some anxiety because we want to do
so much,
but we can't. And so we finally just had to say, hey, we need to stop, take a step back, percolate, and then meet again on this. Just focus on this trip. But some of the ideas that we were saying is we're going to stop at libraries and give handouts saying, hey, please buy our books through Libby and Overdrive. We were thinking about going to bookstores, independent bookstores, and handing them flyers and maybe doing quick TikToks or videos. And we can do this, but we also want to do this, and it's like we have given ourselves a problem that is way more complex than it should be. Keep it,
as we do.
Keep it simple, silly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to talk about writers who do this to themselves, which we do it to ourselves all the time.
Especially me.
All the time. We just dive into something and we just make it so much harder than it should be. We overthink things all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Sometimes we can't even order breakfast from DoorDash without going, well,
we will say though that our Sunday breakfast is pretty much set in stone, and it's nice because we're usually on autopilot first thing in the morning, especially in these cold mornings. So just, regular breakfast. Yep, sure. Okay. It shows up at the front door. If anything came out of the lockdown that was positive, I think it was the ability to get more things delivered to your front door.
Yeah, we haven't gone grocery shopping with our feet on the ground in our local grocery stores in years. We've done, of course, the normal things to pick up, like to get us through the days or something like that.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while, but really, with the major shopping,
it comes to the front door.
Okay, but somehow we've managed to.
But again, that goes back to keeping it simple. The fact that we do have specific things that we have planned out so that we don't have to overthink them, which frees up our mental capacity to overthink things like this.
So keep it simple, silly. So I don't know what for some people, but when I was at my day job back in the day, I don't want to say it's complex, but there were series of problems and challenges. And to solve those, I came up with a simple rule: is take care of the simple smallest task first. Do the simple smallest task first, and then do the next simple. And as you do that, they get harder and more complex. Mm-hmm. But as you get closer to the top of that list, the parts of those lists are getting resolved from your actions down below. So that would be the first thing I would do, is when you do have a series of problems, map them out in your brain and start to solve the simplest tasks and go from there. There's a third dimension, of course, or fourth dimension, if you're into Einstein relativity, is the dimension of time, because many of these tasks were time sensitive. You had to get them done in
right.
But I found that, if you dealt with the simplest and easiest tasks, that as you solve them, it helps solve some of the problems above them too. So I offer that as an option to you.
And that's an excellent point, because I've mentioned that I'm doing the daily YouTube videos. What I'm doing is I'm sitting down, I'm recording, I'm doing very minimal editing. I basically cut off the beginning and end. I haven't gone in and edited out things. Yesterday I had quite the coughing fit in the middle, and I just left it in there, because if I start overthinking things, I wouldn't get it done. So I'm finding that not only keeping it simple keeps me on track, but also I'm becoming more comfortable with doing it. So as you said, start with the small tasks. You're learning about what you're doing. And I bet as you're working your way up, those tasks become like our Sunday breakfast. It's already deeply ingrained. You just do that and you move on. And over time, you start building up to the more complex tasks, and they become easier because the other ones are so routine at that point.
Yeah, and she also brought up a very good point about giving yourself a break when you're doing tasks. Sometimes when we set these goals and we set these bars of accomplishment, we've set them unrealistically high, and sometimes even unrealistically medium. And so you can give yourself, I know I did, I don't mean to say you, but I would give myself anxiety attacks because I had this highfalutin idea that they had to be at this level of accomplishment when they actually only need to be at this level of accomplishment. But that gap there, that unrealistic gap, was causing anxiety. And it was adding levels of complexity, both emotional and task-related complexity, that were simply not needed, not necessary to the completion of the task. So in addition to accepting things for what they are. In addition to doing small tasks, it's also being realistic about goals. Don't set yourself up here.
Right.
Maybe it's okay to set yourself down here, meet halfway, stop, and say, will this complete all the conditions of the problem? And if it does, there's nothing wrong with moving on.
Right. And that you have to be careful about external forces too, because we set ourselves up, but also there are people who start to expect a certain level of competency from us, and that became a problem in my job because we were trying to switch systems to make things easier to track the records at the state archives. And I struggled 4 years trying to switch to this new system. It was basically a records management system. It wasn't intended to be an archival system. My coworkers, my supervisors felt I was competent enough that I could figure it out. And even though I was doing what JT suggested, that I was trying to handle the easiest tasks, the ones I understood first, and I'd reach a certain level of competency. We had gotten to certain levels, we were moving forward, but we were just not quite completing that task. Sometimes you have to understand that maybe the task isn't possible. And no matter how much you do, no matter how much you know, there is just no workaround. So in order to keep your life simple, what I should have said at one point is, I just don't think this is going to work. And after I retired, they scrapped the system because nobody could figure it out. So just keep in mind that keeping it simple is not just in the daily tasks that you do, but sometimes the bigger parts of your life where, you just have to step back and say, okay, I've tried this, it's not working. And if I don't want to drive myself crazy, I just have to step away.
Yep. And I think another part of the task accomplishment, or the part of keeping it simple silly, is get over that idea, as you did, that you are alone, that you are in sole charge of your immediate universe, that you are solely responsible for the task accomplishment, especially the complex task accomplishment. And it is okay to not only ask for help, but ask for a third-party review as to the tasks completed so far, the percentage completed so far, and going in the right direction. Because sometimes you may be going in the completely wrong direction, and you may end up making things worse than making things better. So ask for help, which is difficult for some people because they have confidence in their ability to complete the task based on a record of accomplishment. There's the record, there is a definitive record of accomplishment there. And so the person, her, may have correctly believe that it is within their wheelhouse to complete the task, when in reality there are levels of complexity that you may not be seeing that's adding to the complexity, and that is adding to your anxiety and stress and getting in the way of completing the task. So asking for help is a perfectly reasonable alternative to having an anxiety attack.
I will say that on that task, I did ask for help. I did get help from people who were using the system for records management. So there were several of us, because I went through several people in records management who had different skill sets within the system. And this is also true of writing. I mentioned beta reading and things like that. If you don't feel comfortable doing a particular task and you know someone who does, talk to them. It doesn't have to be anything formal. Just sit down and say, hey, I'm having this problem. This is where critique partners come in handy. If you feel comfortable working on a project that, maybe the time frame would be a little bit outside of your control if you're asking for outside help, that you can sit down with your critique partner. Critique groups meet every once in a while and they discuss and help get through the challenges of writing a book.
Yeah, and there's the writing style too, because you may, like I always do, which I'm learning, Terry, and I'm learning CC. that flashbacks are bad. But it is important to receive, ask for help about your writing style and say, hey, is my writing style, sufficient for what I'm trying to say? And so again, asking for help, it all comes together.
But then keeping it simple, because someone may suggest something, and in order to implement what they're suggesting, it may not comfortably fit in your writing style. It may be a heavy lift. So maybe if you want to finish this book and get it out there, maybe you continue, you try to pepper in a little bit of the suggestion without going overboard as you become more comfortable with it. And that way you complete the task, you get that feeling of accomplishment without feeling like now you're so bogged down in what you're doing, you're just ready to scrap the whole thing. You have to find that balance there. And I think part of keeping things simple is understanding that you need that balance.
Yeah, it's a challenge because some personality types, especially the two sitting at this table, we like challenges. We like to be challenged. We want to take on challenge. And I'm going to go back to somebody that we interviewed on our program, a few months ago. The ability to say no. It's having to say no because when somebody gives you a task and this author, forgive me for forgetting your name. For forgetting your name. She said that a lot of our stress, and this is accurate, comes from accepting tasks because we want to be accepted. We want to be viewed as competent. As we take on these things, even when it's just the two of us, people that have been married for 4 decades. We take on tasks from each other because we still want to be viewed as an acceptable partner. And in the workplace, we want to be viewed as an acceptable colleague. And that adds to the complexity of our lives, of our work lives, of our day lives, of our home lives. And so learning to say no is difficult, even when you've been married for 40-something years, saying no. So when we talk next time about this big-ass trip that we're going to be taking through the South and across the country.
And that's what we call it, the big-ass trip.
Big-ass trip. Both of us are just probably going to have to learn to say, no, we can't do that because we are taking on too much. And, that's going to be difficult for us to hear because we are, and I'm not humble bragging here, I'm just saying that we are, after so long, we are 90% in sync when it comes to things.
Much more often than not.
Way more often than not. But when we are not in sync, it is just, I can't speak for CC, but for me, it's just my entire chest just goes, ugh.
It's jarring.
It's just, ugh.
Yeah.
Have you ever hit the frame of a door with your entire, and your back just
twinges,
springs, like the bass string on a bass guitar. Boom! It's kind of like that for me, and it's like so. And saying no to her after she has put up with me for all these years, it's like I am so grateful. But we're gonna probably have to do that on Wednesday. We're gonna have to say no.
Well, JT doesn't know this yet, but he's already put the brakes on this trip with me because I was throwing ideas out there like, let's turn it into a book tour. And I was given the task to start researching independent author book tours. Just for informational purposes, we hadn't decided one way or another whether we were going to even attempt this. And I will say I did do some research. And they recommend planning these kinds of book tours 4 to 6 months out.
Yeah.
We're looking at maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So book tour is not happening. So JT has already rightly put the brakes on something where I was putting my sights way too high. I was throwing things out there, just,
it was an idea factory where no idea is wrong, and we didn't commit to each other, but we also recognized that we were getting frustrated and, started to have a little bit of anxiety. Maybe I'm just talking for myself, but I sort of picked that up from you too. And it's like, you know what? Let's take a step back.
Well, I will say, after all these years together, when one of us gets anxious, we're both anxious because we start pinging off of each other. And I guess this morning was a very good example of that. So JT was calming down some of my anxieties in a very humorous way. But the whole point of this is that
ding ding ding.
the whole point of this is that
Dinner.
we do have to understand when maybe we're working outside of our limitations, and that keeping life simple and not stressing each other out and not overextending ourselves, because like JT said, we are not financially successful right now. We are not known right now. My thought process behind the book tour idea was that we would make ourselves more known outside of our area, but it helps to have a fan base somewhere else before you start trying to set up these events. So it wasn't going to work out. That was a pie in the sky idea that just, I threw out there. I wasn't really committed to it. We had been talking about whether or not this should be a vacation or a working trip.
Yeah.
It'll probably be a combination of both.
Yeah, and again, I just want to point out that what we were talking about, what we were doing, nothing was wrong.
No.
It's
We're
okay
just
to throw
making
those
ideas.
ideas out there. And there's nothing wrong with doing like a book tour like in September and October now.
No.
But
But even
doing
then.
but doing a road trip, we really want to do a road trip because we really are vacation. Well, I don't want to say vacation nerds, but we are nerds, and like we want to see new places. And so this trip so far, and we're still going to meet to talk about it. So this trip so far sounds like we're going to be doing is we're going to be going to libraries. We're also library nerds. We're just so many nerdy things. I mean, look what we got here. We got so much nerd going on here. But we are going to be doing a trip through the libraries of the United States and dropping off handouts saying, hey, our books are available through Overdrive, through Libby and things like that. Would you please purchase it and make it available to your fine patrons? And the idea is maybe we'll stop by some independent bookstores and do TikToks and everything like that. And candidly, to our friends at the Internal Revenue Service, what we're trying to do here is not only, extend our reach, but be able to write some of this stuff off.
And not to make it all about us, we're hoping, we don't have a lot of visibility right now, but as JT said, we are library nerds. And libraries are very important to the community. So while we're visiting these libraries, we will probably also be doing TikToks and talking about, we'll be talking maybe to one of the library staff at least, whoever is working at the circulation desk. We'll be looking at the various interesting libraries because they all have different locations. The buildings are different styles. They have different histories. So learning about that and sharing that as we go, because we'll be posting these things on here. So if you're following along with this, follow along with that, because we will be showing you places that we haven't been, and we'll be showing you libraries that are maybe doing things that we've never had in our local library. Yeah. So we're hoping this goes both ways. We want to make friends with people along the way, increase our visibility, but we also want to make it, understood that we are very pro-library, we are very pro-reading. We think all kinds of books should be available in libraries and independent bookstores as well. So when we're doing these TikToks and little videos along the way, hopefully we're also promoting them to others and the importance of what they do.
This is just going to be fun. And this entire podcast comes back from our meeting from yesterday, and where we said, hey, we need to find ways to keep it simple, silly. So we are fast. So was there value in this podcast for you? Was there value from listening to two old cantankerous writers who want to put the world on a balloon, but basically just really need to calm down and bring it down and be a little bit more real? Was there value in this podcast to you? So please let us know. But especially in these times, especially in these days and times, there is such a need for simplicity. So we strongly recommend that where you can, you can't do it in all things, but where you can, take a step back and take a look at things and say, hey, where can I simplify? Where can I lower my stress level? Where can I lower my anxiety level? Do I need to be doom scrolling for an hour or 2 hours a day over things I have no control over? Do I need to, be making this commute to Walmart or at your local grocery store? Or should I spend the yearly fee and have it delivered and just have it dropped at your doorstep? Do I need to make meals for my family when I have a little extra money and I could just have DoorDash or Uber or something like that? Just sort of drop it at my thing. There are ways to simplify your life. And so we're speaking to that now. Now, we can't obviously speak to your situation, and probably what we're saying here is very naive and very shallow to your life. But we strongly recommend finding ways to simplify things.
Because when you don't simplify, no matter how much of a go-getter you might be, you are throwing up roadblocks, because some things you imagine that you can do, like my idea of an independent author book tour, really is not in our wheelhouse right now. We would need staff. We would need all kinds of things that we don't have. So recognize when you maybe are putting out something into the world that is really beyond you right now. And, you know, as JT mentioned, those things that can simplify your life can be especially helpful if maybe you are in a situation where you can't physically get out of the house. So in order to maintain your comfort levels, maintain your quality of life, you may need to simplify in that way. So like you said, we don't know what's going on in your world. So many people have so many much worse problems than we do. And so we're just saying that keeping things simple is probably going to help maintain your level of comfort.
And to close the circle, the simpler you make things, the more time you have for writing. See how I did that? I just brought it all back, didn't I?
Yes.
But the more you can put yourself in a writing frame of mind, a creative frame of mind. Writing may not be your form of creativity.
Right.
But the simpler you make things, the easier it is to bring out the best of yourself when it comes to creative endeavors. And really, work is work. Your day job is your day job. It's what you do to support your life, not the other way around. You don't live life to support your day job. Your day job is supposed to be supporting the wondrous thing and the wondrous time that you have with your family, with your friends, with your creativity. Simplifying things makes it easier to get there. And I can tell you folks, I had a super complex job for a few months that was absolutely killing me. And it's like, I can't do this. And so I took a demotion to simplify my life, and things just became so much easier. The clouds parted and the sun came down again. And it was one of the best professional decisions I ever made. So just learn from us old fogies here who've been there and done that.
Just not to say that you can't have a job that you really enjoy, because I did. And I know at some points you did as well. So that's not to say that your job can't be enjoyable, but JT made the very excellent point that sometimes pushing yourself to do better and be better at work is not in your best interests. And simplifying, keep things simple, silly.
Yeah.
Take that step back if you need to, because it's going to be so much better for you in the long run.
Yeah, and the second you walk out of the door of your job, they're already writing up the job announcement to replace you. It's like, yeah, thanks for stopping by. Oh, by the way, we need somebody. They won't miss you. Okay, I know I'm an old fogey that way, but okay. So, has there been any value to what we've said here? I hope there has. I hope there are things that we've brought up that have helped. Is there anything else we want to touch base on?
I just want to say, if you are somewhere in the southern United States, and we aren't going to talk about a particular route because we haven't really set that in stone yet, but if you are somewhere in that part of the world, that part of the country, please let us know about your local libraries, your local independent bookstores. Where do you like to hang out to read your books? Right. And maybe we'll stop by some of those places and give you a shout out.
Yep.
Yeah, feel free to leave info in the comments. We'll look at it, because as I said in my YouTube yesterday, we don't have a lot of followers.
Yeah,
so if you want to get in the ground floor and actually have us answer your comments, this would be the time to do it.
It's right now, it's go through Nevada, go through southern Nevada, go through Vegas, go into Arizona. We're going to go look at that big hole in the ground that everybody's always talking about. And then we're going to head east to Albuquerque, because we want to be very careful about taking wrong turns in Albuquerque. Oh dear God, am I old. And then we're going to go through the panhandle of Texas, because we're not going to go through it. We're going to make the minimum exposure to Texas.
He was born in Texas.
And then we're going to go through Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. And then from there, we're going to probably try and hit Arkansas and Louisiana. Probably we'll try to get that. We've been to Missouri. Love Missouri. We're going to try and hit Arkansas and Louisiana at the same time somehow. We'll get right through there. And then go through the Gulf Coast, swing on through by Biloxi, hi Keesler. Put our foot, dab our toes in not Fort Lauderdale, is it?
Was it Pensacola? No, not Pensacola.
Well, Pensacola or something like that. We're just going to get Florida out of the way because she's never been to Florida. And then we're going to wander up and go through Georgia and go through Atlanta because...
Mecca! Coca-Cola nerd.
And then we're going to go through the Carolinas and then wander up through Delaware and see my sister, who's in Delaware. Hi, Letty. And then we're going to head east to Washington. We're going to spend a couple of days, a couple of nights, and we're going to go scratch our nerd there. Then we're going to head north and wander through New York City and New York City and New Jersey. Oh, don't talk to me about New Jersey. And end up at Rhode Island. And then at Rhode Island, we're going to turn our asses around and we're going to start heading east. West. Go by Cooperstown because we're going to be so close to Cooperstown we could throw a rock and hit it.
Yep.
Then from Cooperstown, Chicago, and then like I said,
don't we go through Indiana, Ohio?
Oh yeah, we'll be doing Indiana, Illinois, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Those awesome states. And then from Chicago, we'll be heading up north, and like I said, we're going to North Dakota.
And Montana.
And then we're going to head south through Idaho and head home.
So that will take care of the contiguous 48 states, the bulk of the United States. Because in 2024, we did a BAT doing a northern loop where we actually went up into Canada. We went to London, Ontario. We saw Niagara Falls, which was awesome. Much more impressive in person than you can ever imagine if you haven't been there. We went to Cooperstown, but it'll be fun to see it again because we went pretty close to closing. We did hit things like Vermont and Maine and everything. So we've done most of the northern parts. That's why we're kind of doing Rhode Island and North Dakota and Montana because we missed that trip.
Yep. Okay, that's way more information that you asked for and too much time on this podcast. But, it's just...
But with that being said, if you are in any of the locations that we've mentioned, please feel free to leave information about your local independent bookstores, about your local libraries, and we'll be happy to see if we can catch them along the way.
Yeah, started off with, you have to see, you have to stop by.
We had that on our last big trip. I was doing social media, and we were in South Dakota, I think, and ended up going to the Corn Palace. No. Somebody suggested the Corn Palace. We wouldn't have considered that. That was a lot of fun. Please give us suggestions because we're looking forward to trying new places.
Popcorn. Oh my God.
Smelled like popcorn.
Oh my God. Okay. Y'all have lives. We have lives. We have things to do. But we just started talking and, being so Irish and being Copestones. We just got...
We're both Irish, but I'm more Irish. Like...
Irish.
The gift of the gab. I've kissed the Blarney Stone twice, so.
I was born in Texas. I don't need to. Okay, we're done.
We did not keep this simple, silly.
It's time for the commercial. So you guys could go ahead and turn it off, but the commercial's kind of fun. We are happy proprietors of Two More Books LLC, which is a writing publishing company based out of Carson City, Nevada, USA. And through that, we publish several books. We also do two podcasts. The CC and JT Amateur Hour is the podcast where we like to help writers write.
And drink coffee.
And we've done several hundred, more than 300 episodes of our podcast, where we not only interview each other or talk to each other, but we have writers come on every other week. And we had an interesting writer last week, Vail Stewart. We're going to have an interesting writer on next week. And so we like to have writers come on and talk about their craft of writing. We also do the second part of the commercial, of course, is twomoorebooks.com, which is the site where our LLC lives. And on there, we are partners through the Sierra Arts Foundation with the Nevada Author Network, which is a podcast which highlights writers here in Northern Nevada who are members of the Sierra Arts literary community. We have so much fun on both podcasts. We love to talk writing to both populations. And we have found that although we are different people, we are similar artists in the way that we express our art, go about our art, do our art and publish our art. So if you are a writer interested in doing that, or if you are just interested in listening to writers talk about writing, we recommend both podcasts for your listening enjoyment.
And viewing too, because
And
they're
viewing.
both audio and video.
Yep.
You can find the audio portions on places like Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
The videos are here on YouTube, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing my daily YouTube videos, which I think yesterday's was interesting. It was dreams versus reality, talking about the writing life and my dreams. So definitely check that out. We post about what we're doing and what other people are doing as well. So we hope you will check them out.
And I do a daily TikTok that just as an affirmation to let you know that you are doing great. You're doing fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. Just keep going.
But keep it simple, silly.
But keep it simple, silly. And with that closure, way over there is CC.
And over there is JT.
Please take care of yourselves and take care of each other because you're the absolute best there is. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.